Hi everyone, I'm Becky,
I'm Sarah.
and we're doing Bickering Book Reviews. Today we're talking about The Stars Between Us by Cristin Terrell, which I got the ebook off of Edelweiss.
I got the ebook off of NetGalley.
And so this is a modern sci-fi kind of, it's not really, it's kind of sci-fi, but it's kind of not. Like it's sci-fi because it takes place in the future, but it's very not otherwise, if that makes sense.
Sci-fi fantasy. It's not even modern because it's not set in our world or anything.
Right. I mean, but I feel like all of the things that the characters go through are basic realistic fiction. The only thing that makes it science fiction is that they're on another planet and like they're taking shuttles back and forth between planets.
Okay.
Anyway, so this is like an update of the Dickens novel, Our Mutual Friend. And it is about Vika or Victoria, who lives kind of, she's lower middle class on this planet that's kind of like the workhorse for this other fancy planet. And she finds out when this billionaire that everybody knows dies that in his will, he basically said that his son only inherits the money if he marries Vika, because it turns out that they had interacted when she was very, very small. And he had kind of like monitored her and like mentored her to create his son what he thought would be the perfect wife. But before she can decide if she wants to marry Leo or not, he dies in a spaceship explosion. But the lawyer showed up, and the lawyer basically says that the people who were second in line for the will still want to take care of her, and they invite her to this planet, to the fancy planet, to be part of high society. And she basically has to decide how she wants to fit into high society. There is the lawyer's assistant who she's kind of drawn to as a friend. And then there's also the billionaire's assistant who she's interacting with, who is poor, and she likes him too. And she kind of has to figure out what happened to Leo, who she was supposed to marry, the billionaire's son, and where she fits in and what she wants to do. I really don't want to say that much, but if you've read Our Mutual Friend, you know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I don't even know where to start with this. It definitely kept me invested and interested, but near the end there, it was just too long. I was ready for it to have been done. And I don't know if I would cut or anything like that. It just felt too long.
Right. And there's really nothing to cut. I mean, it is a long book. So I took the Victorian novel class in college, and my favorite book from the Victorian novel class was Our Mutual Friend. And I think it's funny because nobody reads Our Mutual Friend. It is the least known Dickens novel, but I really enjoyed it. And so I was actually, I started reading this, I kept texting Sarah, and I'm like, this is exactly the story. And then I did finally find somewhere where they referenced it. So to me, it wasn't slow because I kind of knew what happens, because it doesn't perfectly follow the book, but the relationship developments are.
It wasn't, I'm not saying that it was slow, because that wasn't really it. Like I said, I was invested and I was reading along, and it wasn't hard or terrible. I was tired by the end. I was just tired I just needed a break.
Was the pacing off?
Maybe that might be it. Because I definitely felt like they talk about how her and Sky, the assistant, are friends, but they're really not. She hates him. And I really wish there was more kind of developed there, that I don't know, that there were glimmers, or I don't know. I just wish that relationship was kind of altered a bit.
And I guess my thing is the prologue or the epilogue kind of leaves you with the idea that there's going to be a happily ever after. And I like to see the happily ever after. And I feel like in the original novel, it was a little bit more. But I did like it, and I liked the feel of it, I guess. And I liked the way it was updated. Because there were no shuttlecrafts in Dickens' version.
No, and the sci-fi worked really well, and it was interesting. I guess I wanted more emotion,
which I can see. Because it was definitely there wasn't any feelings and relationships development. You were just kind of oh, here it is, here it is, here it is. Because I did enjoy it, and I because we keep saying it is technically a science fiction book, but I like how it wasn't forcibly sci-fi. So if you don't like science fiction, you can still read this.
Yeah, and it'll still feel good. I mean, because there's definitely some selection vibes. It does not read like this, it's not as high interest as a selection, but it's catty corner.
Yeah. I think if you've aged out of the selection, I could see liking this.
Yeah.
Because and it was because there was a lot when she's trying to enter the marriage mart and all that. And it's interesting because things like Bridgerton are so popular now. It did kind of have that feel too with the gowns and the, all of that.
Well, I guess the other thing that kind of bothered me was when Vicka gets to high society, she wants to go by Victoria, but the narrative still calls her Vicka. And that was kind of, I feel like there could have been a lot of power in how you're writing her name. And there wasn't as much power put into it as there could have been.
Her claiming her own identity kind of thing.
Yeah. I think you could have developed that better. And that kind of bugged me.
Yeah.
Because you really could have added power to that storyline.
Well, and there was the one character who basically was two characters without going into more detail than that. And it was kind of going back, you're okay, so sometimes they're called this, sometimes they're called that.
Yeah, there's a lot of importance. There could have been a lot of importance in the names, and I don't think that as much importance was placed on them as it should have been.
Because the novel is a lot about identity and what does your name give you.
I mean, yeah, And if you're pulling from Dickens, I'm sure Dickens artfully ensured that names conveyed a deeper meaning.
As much as I loved the original book, I do have Dickens issues. Once I found out what he did to his wife, that's a whole other story. Yeah.
I've never read the original, none of that, but I know that when you're talking classics that have that we're still reading hundreds of years later, I'm sure names were given were important and were dealt with as such.
His characters were very layered. There's a lot of, all of his characters, which this is so not the point of this video. But there were everything. There was, yes, you're an orphan, but you also had this and you also had that. And it was not only what your family gave you, but what you created. And
I think there was a little bit less of that in this. And maybe that's why it didn't, it was hard. It was because it was easy to read and all that stuff. But by the end, it just wasn't enough for me.
Well, and you've also got to think those original Victorian novels, they were released in individual chunks. And I want to say Our Mutual Friend was 1,200 pages long.
Jeepers.
I might be remembering it wrong. I just remember it was the first time I listened to an audiobook. But anyway, back to this book. I enjoyed it. And I don't know if this is the author's first book, but I would read more books by her. I think you're right. I think it was long, but I don't know where we would snip some stuff. And that limits who's going to want to read it. But I liked this. The settings, some of the settings were well done, but I did like the descriptions of the clothes. I liked the ideas of the high society. I thought it was interesting where they were talking about, they went to the symphony and it was all about being seen because it felt so that kind of story. I think that this is a very narrow appeal. You've got to have the right person. And this might be one of those teen books that are more adult friendly than teen friendly.
No, I think you made a good point about being for the selection kids who have aged out of the selection. I think this would be perfect for them.
Yeah. So I don't have anything else to say to you.
No.
So we're going to rate it. Our rating system starts at the top with 5 unicorns. We're going to 2 unicorns. If we don't like it, it's a horse.
I mean, a 3. I mean, like, I was interested throughout it. Like, yeah, at the end, I just got tired. But, like, I mean, overall, it was pretty good. Like, I did want some more character development, more emotion. But in general, I was interested in the novel. And I will recommend it. So
I'm like at a 3.5, almost 4. And I don't know if I'm quite at a 4. And I think part of it is because, like I said, I liked the story of it. And I think I liked the adaptation and the updates of the story. And I enjoyed the writing. I'll read more from this author. So that's where we are on The Stars Between Us. And we'll see you around.
All right.
Bye.